Hello and welcome to another step-by-step how to tie video. This is the Stonefly Nymph. This is a wonderful trout pattern. There are many variations on how to tie this, and this is what I came up with. This is tied on a size 14 Mustad number 9672 hook. For weight, I am going to use some lead wire. This is 0.020. Doesn't take much. For a thread, I am using Danville's Flymaster waxed thread. This is a smaller diameter thread. Nice flat. For the legs and for the tail there, I am using a black stripped Goose Biots. I am using UTC's Ultra Wire size extra small in green for a ribbing. For the flashback on there, I have some of this wonderful Mirage Tinsel medium in the Opal. This really shimmers well. I really like the way this looks. And for the rest of the body, it is all black, peacock black, trout ice dub. So, yeah, some basic materials here. But here we go. We'll get the old one off, and we will get a blank hook in. Make sure that's nice and secured. Here we go, and to start things off, I'm going to do some wraps with this lead wire. And I'm going to cover maybe a little bit more than a third of the hook. Go ahead and just break that off. This lead is nice and soft. Or if you have a lead substitute, that will work as well. Slide that right up to just behind the eye. Leave about an eye's width behind. We'll cast on our thread. Hold that in place. And we'll lock down that lead first. And we'll trim off our tag end. Okay, our next step is to take our thread back towards the bend of the hook, and we'll tie in our first set of Goose Biot all the way to the back to the bend. And I went ahead and I just trimmed all this Biot off, but you can tell that it has a bend to it, and on the back I want to have the natural curve bending its way out. Take this about a hook's length, and on the side we'll tie it in. And this is where patience and practice comes in. So that is the near side, and we will match it on the far side. So this time I am taking that bend and I'm putting it facing away from myself. Slide it into place. Just kind of eyeballing the length at this point. Make sure this stays on that far side. Here we go. And I'm just going to wrap these the rest of the way in. This will help with a little bit of the tapering. Beautiful. Alright, we'll get our wire tied in next. Once again, this is a green extra small. And I'm going to take this all the way back to the bend as well. Just kind of let that hang out of the way. Take a little bit of the Opal tinsel. We'll tie this in, and you want to make sure this is lined up on the top side of the hook when you get towards the bend. Beautiful. Alright, at this point we will do the rear half of the body. Just a little bit of ice dubbing. No real wax needed here. It goes on nice and well. The thread already has a thin coat of wax. And I want to keep this relatively slender, nice and sparse. And I'm taking this all the way up to where that lead is. And just onto the lead. We'll just add a little bit more. Fill the rest of that way up, and we'll get a halfway decent taper on there. It's always good to just add little bits of this at a time. So that's roughly about halfway. I'm going to take my Mirage Tinsel, and I'm going to fold it over the length of the hook. And I'm going to lock that in with my thread. Just a couple of wraps. And then I will do some counter wraps on the rear half of the body here. Do one full wrap all the way at the back. And then the rest of these will get brought forward. Until we get to our thread. And get everything out of the way. Take a couple wraps to lock down the wire. And I still have to work on the rest of that fly body, on the legs and whatnot. So I am going to just get that Mirage Tinsel out of the way. I have a little magnet here. That'll hold that out of the way. I can start tying in my legs. And for the legs, this time I want the curve to be on the inside. And for a length, I'm lining this up so the tip reaches the end of the body. Got the near side first. Do the far side. I'm going to match that same length on the other side. Couple of wraps to lock it in. Alright, and we will trim these off. These are brittle enough, they might just snap off, but I found that once you start yanking on some of this material, it definitely loses its position. So after the first set of legs, I'll come back with a little bit more of this black, peacock black ice dub. I'm going to do 1 or 2 wraps in between each set of legs. That might be a little bit too much. We'll get this back. There we go. Whatever it takes to get it out of the way. So just a little bit of that peacock ice dubbing. Time in for our second set of legs. I am going to that same length. So the second set of legs will be to that same point behind the body there. Okay, on the far side, I'm keeping these turned in. Couple of turns on that thread, and we'll lock it the rest of the way down. This is by no means a fast fly to tie. The legs can be quite time consuming, but nonetheless the end result is, I think, just kind of somewhat remarkable. Okay, after the second set of legs, once again I'm going to add a little bit more of this dubbing. See if we can't spread that out just a little bit more. There we go. You want to compact it down nice and tight. A few more turns there. And now we're almost to the end on the front side of that lead, those lead wire wraps. Once again, I'm matching this on that same length. So the tips of these are all essentially lined up together at the very end of the body. And the last leg goes on the far side. This Goose Biot can be somewhat intimidating to a beginner or novice, but practice and patience, that's all it takes. You too can tie a stonefly. Alright, so I'm going to take this thread back to where I just tied in that last set of legs. And I'm going to wrap this flash forward, keeping it flat. And we'll lock that off and trim that off. Now we still have that wire, which is halfway. I'm going to come in here with my bodkin, and I'm going to tease these legs out. Just give them a nice bend out, because we're going to tie the wire in between those legs to help secure this Mirage Opal Tinsel just a little bit. Get in here with your bodkin and kind of direct that leg out of the way. Side, you can fold that down. And it's a beautiful thing. Couple of tight wraps to lock down the wire rest of the way, and we can finally trim that wire off. One last round of dubbing just in front of that last set, and then we'll just kind of let that come down, and we will start to form a small head up front. Quick whip finish. And we'll trim off our thread. And I will come in here, and I'm not going to over trim, because I always like just a little bit of bugginess in there. Just one little drop of the secret sauce, Sally Hansen's. And this will just help secure that last couple wraps of thread. One little droplet on there. That's all it takes. Keep it out of the eye. If you do get it in the eye, just go ahead and rub or run a hackle feather through there. So this is the Stonefly Nymph. Takes a little practice, takes a little time. The legs aren't 100% straight, but you know what? We'll have to ask the trout. So there you have it, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Happy tying and tight lines.